You know, who would have thought it would have taken about a year or so since I started this series where we're talking about pretending to be somewhat of a lawyer without actually getting a suit. Well, we did it now. So this is a sort of part 2 to a video I made roundabout in the pre-season of this season, talking about the first rumblings about this dispute between the Rugby League Players Association and the ARL regarding this CBA. So if you want to check out what's happened initially to start this off, go there and come back here. But so obviously in the last couple of days, ever since Thursday, there has been action being done by the Rugby League Players Association where all players are not to talk to any media whatsoever, whether it be radio, TV interviews, anything like that. The players are just not talking whatsoever. And this has pissed so many people off. So obviously the main people that are going to be affected by this is mostly going to be the ARL and obviously the news organisations that write about rugby league, because they can't get direct contact with the players because they can't talk to them now. And this has sort of, with the discussions around it, especially when it comes to like Fox Sports, Triple M and stuff like that, to be sort of one-sided in this affair. But I don't know, are they, you know, most of them are full of former players. Are they going to back the players, or are they going to lick the boot? The answer may shock you. So in the absolute shocking news, basically, Fox Sports have basically kind of parading this out as the players being selfish. Which is, I mean, kind of been a discussion since before the season about how they've painted this whole CBA issue as just, you know, they need more money. But that is actually not what the case is. And they're trying to paint them in this image so the fans can be against this, like, you know, this sort of industrial action. And the way that some people have been talking about it, like on Twitter and stuff like that, from these journalists and these former players who now work in media, is about how the fans are suffering. It's like, oh, it's like this is being harsh on the fans. I believe Brad Arthur, the Parramatta coach, also said something along the line. There was like a ticker during the preview of the Tigers-Sharks game. And I remember there was a ticker in the Tigers-Sharks game where they're asking coaches, because the coaches are the only ones that can talk to, about their thoughts, and they're saying how this really is affecting the fans. It's like, let's be honest. Put your hand up if you're actually so affected that someone like Brian Toto can't get interviewed after a match. Like, I'm not fussed about it. Like, and I don't think anybody really is. It's just they're trying to peruse this point that's like, oh, everybody, it's the fans are suffering. The fans aren't suffering. They're not suffering because they can't keep making these constant stories about rugby league players and have them probably affected. They can't interview them, so they're not going to be making more stories about NRL players or just the NRL as a whole, which means they're going to lose money and the ARL are going to lose money because, you know, the players aren't engaging with the media, which is a major thing that brings in revenue and like, you know, knowledge and reputation and eyes specifically on the National Rugby League. So that's basically what has been happening. Like Clint Newton, who is the current head of the Rugby League Players Association, who would have thought a player that used to play for Newcastle would be the head of a union? Like, but and basically he got hammered. So one of the big media pieces that has happened over the last couple of days has been Clint Newton actually went on Triple M with the radio show, which is hosted by James Graham, Gordon Tallis, and James Hooper. Obviously, James Hooper and Gordon Tallis are like proper journalists now with the NRL. James Graham does commentary for Triple M, which makes sense, especially he's got into like a podcast and stuff like that. But Hooper and Tallis just absolutely go in on Clint Newton. Like,
Clint, why are you punishing the broadcasters who tip in $2 billion into the game over the course of the next 5 seasons through until the end of 2027?
How long do you want it to go for? How long? How long do you want the CBA to go for?
5 years.
5 years, so is the term of the broadcaster.
Yes.
We're going to go through this every time.
No, not every time. I'd like to think that this is this is not going to happen again.
Are you going to suggest to the players that they should strike if you can't come to some sort of agreement? So
That's
are
no
you a
different to-
union? Are you a union or an association?
But what about
Clint,
the interest
Clint-
of the fans? And I get the players. I'm a player. Right? I'm a current player. I've walked down this road before. I've been in your position, or going in and fighting against the NRL.
Yeah,
I still hold that. Craig Gower didn't get his dally, and we called off a lot of things that did not help. So
It did, Gordy.
So how does it help, Craig? So how did it help the players?
Yeah, but I think you are not giving yourself and those players enough credit that took that action. If you remember rightly, in 2003, that we were one of our leaders, right? I was 2 years into first grade. I didn't know everything that was going on. I trusted you. I trusted Butsy. I trusted other leaders. I didn't know when you guys said that's what we're doing. It was all in.
Is the game in as good a shape as you've ever seen it, Clint?
On the field, absolutely.
Right. So then why are you going to war with
What
the
about
administration?
financially, Clint?
Yeah.
Financially, surely you can see that the game is it's the most money that's ever been brought in. Broadcasters have paid the most money at all. So, what if there's 100 little areas that you're not happy with? All this is great, but it's affecting everybody. So how do you get to a result? How does this stop? And look, the players will strike. Make no mistakes about it. They will strike.
Well, they won't
if you
get
guys
paid.
don't get what
If
you
it
want.
comes to that, that means they won't get paid.
Well,
Dobbo. That would mean that the
Dobbo, I
existing
think they're
broadcast
prepared.
arrangements
Yeah,
could
Dobbo,
also go up in
That is
smoke.
a ridiculous
Yeah,
statement, and the
don't say that,
players that
Dobbo.
have told you that. So who's told you
No,
that?
no. I'm not saying. I'm saying, Clint.
No,
you
so who's
admit
told you that?
Just hang on, Gordy. Clint, will you admit that there will be more action take place if you guys don't get an agreement?
It's actually nuts, and I've got to say, fair play to Clint Newton. Like, he was calm, he took his time, he didn't, meet on the same levels of their aggression. Like, Hooper was being an absolute, I'm going to be honest, as a bit of a shill. And the weird thing is, though, is someone I want to be somewhat of a sports journalist, after I'm graduating uni. That's what I'm currently studying at the moment, is helping me get around to it. And it's just kind of disheartening, about just of how to the point and to corporate greed and stuff of towing the line that these journalists have been. It's just frustrating, and it's just, and again, this key point about saying, the fans are affected by this. No, they're not. Yous are affected by this because it's not lining your pockets, aka your boss's pockets. So then yous have to start stirring this to make the Rugby League Players Association as the bad guys. Now, obviously, we don't know what's going to be happening further on from this point. There has been rumours going around about straight up, delaying of games because the players will not go out at the scheduled kickoff times. There's been points of them just straight up not playing, especially getting to the point now where we're getting close to finals, which is, the big money thing for, the rugby league world as a whole when it comes to even just, the organisers, the actual game revenue, the stadiums, and, of course, the big thing, the media. So who knows what will happen from this? But I just hope the Rugby League Players Association keep up the good fight and really stick it to them.